Welcome back, everybody, to the Metropolis Bulldogs Teambuilder Dynasty here on NCAA Football 14. Today we had the season number 4 offseason as we transition into year number 5 here in the series. As you guys probably know, I have a big new NCAA series that I'm starting within the next couple of weeks. So I want to be able to wrap this series up in a timely manner, get as many seasons in as possible with a happy ending. And I think we're on good pace to do that. And I'm excited to see what this offseason holds for us. Season number 4 was very successful for our Bulldogs as we went 11-3. We won the conference championship game, and we nearly won the All-State Sugar Bowl. Our 3 losses were against all really good teams. Number 1, Florida, who won the national title game. Number 13, Temple. And number 4, Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. Last episode, we had the 2 biggest games in our program's history, and they both went down to the wire. We beat undefeated Memphis in the conference championship 35-28. Memphis is, of course, led by Seth Hennigan, the NCAA's all-time leader in passing touchdowns in a career. And then we barely lost to Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl as they had a game-winning touchdown at the buzzer by running back Logan Diggs. That play was unfortunate, but it was still a very successful season for us, led by junior quarterback Manuel Castillo. This could be it for Castillo. He very well may declare for the NFL draft. That really wouldn't surprise me. The rest of the team was very solid. The run game was great. The defense was great. I went into more detail over these stats and awards and All-Americans and whatnot at the end of the last episode, so if you want to check that out, it is in the series playlist. I did that at the end of the last video just so we could get right into the offseason stuff today. So without wasting any more time, let's get on into it. We're going to start with the coaching carousel, and there were a lot of big moves, not just around the NCAA, but involving our program. And that starts with head coach Isaiah Sparks receiving a 6-year extension from the Metropolis Bulldogs. I'm sure we could get a big coaching offer somewhere else, but we are committed here to Metropolis. We want to win a national championship with this program, and we are going to sign the dotted line. Isaiah Sparks will be the head coach of the Bulldogs for the next 6 years, which is pretty much the rest of the series, essentially. So as we look throughout the rest of the coaching carousel, I noticed that we have 2 new coordinators on the bottom. I guess both of our current coordinators accepted head coaching jobs, and we went out and we actually got a couple of splashes. Our new defensive coordinator is Luke Fickell, the previous defensive coordinator at the University of Cincinnati. He's a level 36, meaning that he is all the way maxed out, which is a big deal. Our offensive coordinator is also all the way maxed out. It's Paul Christ, who is the head coach at the University of Wisconsin. So these are 2 big-time programs who recently fired their coaches, and we're going to pick them up off the streets to have us, be their coordinators, and then hopefully the 2 of them can rebound and then get big coaching jobs in the future, just like our current coordinators, Louis Kahn and Dale McBride, were able to do. Their contracts happened to expire, but as you'll see later, they ended up getting better jobs elsewhere, which is no surprise because they've been a big part of our rise. With Luke Fickell gone in Cincinnati, they hired Rod Carey, the head coach at Temple. The Owls have been really good 2 years in a row. They beat us last season, of course. So good for Carey, and now he's out of our conference, which is a big deal. Lane Kiffin got fired from Ole Miss. They replaced him with Bronco Mendenhall. Louis Kahn, our previous defensive coordinator, is now at Temple. So it's like a whole cycle of life. We lose Kahn, we replace him with Luke Fickell, who gets replaced by Rod Carey, the previous Temple coach. You see how it's all circulated together? Texas fired Steve Sarkisian. The UCF Knights fired Gus Malzahn. I take it that they're struggling in the Big 12. Chip Kelly was fired from UCLA. He is now the head coach at Utah State. Talk about a fall from grace for the Chipster. Pat Narduzzi is now the head coach at the University of Vanderbilt. James Franklin is now the head coach at Wake Forest. He was Florida's offensive coordinator last season. Replacing Franklin as for offensive coordinator is our very own Dale McBride. So our offensive coordinator, McBride, doesn't get to be a head coach, but instead he's the offensive coordinator for the national championship winning Gators, which should give him a lot of opportunities for a bigger job in the future. And obviously Louis Kahn got the Temple job. So now on to players leaving. As you can see here, nobody's transferring and nobody's declaring for the draft, which is a big deal. All of our freshmen are sticking around. All of our upperclassmen, specifically Manuel Castillo, are not leaving early, which is very exciting. Let's talk about our senior class who is graduating, however. A lot of notable names in here. starting with Andrew Williams, who we've had at running back the past 2 seasons. He spent most of this year injured, never really was the player I thought he could be. Fullback Tico Chukwuemeka never had a big role, but he did have the biggest play of his career in the Sugar Bowl game against Notre Dame on that last drive. Percy Morales, talented run-stopping defensive tackle, didn't see the field a whole lot. Victor Johans, the punter, who of course was our quarterback in season number 1, didn't really play a lot in years 2 and 3, but was the punter this year and wasn't too bad. Larry Caker, another quarterback who we saw in year 1, hasn't gotten a snap since. Emmanuel Dukes, he's been our number 2 middle linebacker the past 2 seasons. He's gotten a lot of snaps, and he's been quite good. Really talented player. Greg Hudgens III, the transfer from Purdue, 2 career sacks. Dilip Bowe, the super smart corner. It's a shame he never really developed, but he was the team captain for us and one of the more important players in the locker room. John Alexander was Donovan Barrington before we had Donovan Barrington, a small, shifty change of pace back who just was never as good as Donovan Barrington. Tavion Smith-Gardner, the tight end, he's a 3-year starter, and in my opinion, the best senior on this roster. Definitely going to be a player that we really miss a lot. Connor Astronfield, he's been a starting tackle for the past 2 years. Trey Nixon, another guy who never really developed, only had 1 catch for us, but it was the go-ahead touchdown late in the Sugar Bowl game. Would have been the game winner had our defense not blown it. So there we go, a talented senior class. As we look at the draft results, nobody got picked. Not really a surprise. Maybe a guy like Tavion Smith-Gardner or Emmanuel Dukes can catch on an NFL roster, hopefully. Capital College did have 3 players go, including cornerback TJ Stewart, who ended up in the 3rd round. The Florida Gators, who won the national championship, did not have anybody go in the first 2 rounds, yet their rivals, Florida State, had 3 first-rounders. Florida's other rival, Georgia, also had 3 first-rounders, which is quite interesting. Moving right along here, Maryland, one of our rivals, they had a couple guys go in the 5th round. Memphis had 3 players get picked, all in the 1st round, including running back Brandon Thomas and quarterback Seth Hennigan. 2 of the greatest players in Memphis history. I'm going to be pulling for those guys at the next level because they've been great competitors against us in our American Athletic Conference. The Heisman winner, Donovan Edwards, the running back out of Michigan, went in the 3rd round. That feels kind of low for a Heisman, but okay, I guess he is a running back, so that kind of makes sense. Notre Dame, who beat us in the Sugar Bowl, had 4 players get picked. Ohio State had 3 first-rounders, including C.J. Stroud and Travion Henderson. The Buckeyes, of course, have made 3 straight national title games, only winning 1. Caleb Williams was a 3rd-round pick out of Oklahoma. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't go earlier than that. USC had a few guys, including Jaden Eastme. We went over him back in the Year 1 recruiting special out of St. Francis High School, not too far away from us. We had nobody come in as a transfer request. Shocker, am I right? So now we're going to get into recruiting, and this is not an easy year for recruiting because we've still got a lot of guys on the board who I really, really like, and we're obviously not going to be able to get all of these guys, so we have to figure out the smartest way to allocate our points. We currently have the 19th ranked class in the country. Only 9 players have committed via scholarship so far, including 5-star quarterback Rod Roberson, who is the first 5-star commit in program history. We have a talented group of players, and we're looking to add some more talent today. When I was allocating my 15,000 points, I wanted to figure out what the smartest way to do this was because I knew I was not going to get all 7 players. So I wanted to prioritize those top 4 guys. We don't really need defensive end. We don't really need safety, which is what Eric Rice plays. So I wanted to focus on Mafu Vea, the 2 receivers, and Steve Watkins. If we can get both Watkins, Vea, and one of the receivers, I think this would be a success. So Watkins is going to get 4,400. Hanet Alvaro, the 4th, will get 3,900. Brown will get 4,200. And Vea will get 2,500. We're down by a lot on Alvaro, but I'm giving him less points than Brown because I think Brown is the slightly better player. And sure enough, we would get 3 of 4. Steve Watkins, Rashard Brown Jr., and Mafu Vea have all committed to the team. Those are the 3 guys I wanted the most, so it's a success. Unfortunately, we lost out on Hanet Alvaro, the 4th. He goes to the University of Miami. And as you'll see here, we lost out on him by 165. That stings, especially considering we won with Watkins, Brown, and Vea all by at least 1,400. So I feel like we wasted an opportunity there, but oh well, what are you going to do? Overall, I do feel pretty good about this recruiting class. It's small in quantity, but it's big in quality. Kind of like last year's recruiting class. We didn't get a ton of guys on scholarship, but the players we did get, I really like. The recruiting restrictions have seemed to hit us harder when we've become a better program, which I find interesting. We ended up with 18 total players, 12 on scholarship, 6 walk-ons for the 12th best recruiting class in the country. That's pretty good. Tops in our conference as well. So now we get to the less stressful parts of the offseason, starting with position changes. I did not actually make that many changes this year. The big things here are with our 3 freshman athletes, Zach Fuller, Brady Jackson, and Ryan Cunningham. Fuller is going to be a receiver. He's too explosive to not have on offense. Brady Jackson will play running back, and Ryan Cunningham will play right guard. So all 3 of those guys will play on the offensive side of the ball. When we got Ellis Hill last year, I planned on him being our long-term quarterback, but with the addition of Rod Roberson, Hill doesn't need to play quarterback. Luckily, he can also play in the secondary as well, so he'll be a DB going forward. And to balance things out, I moved Luis Miles over to strong safety, just so I didn't have like 6 free safeties on the roster. Now we get into training results, one of the more fun parts of the offseason, headlined by Manuel Castillo, who only goes up 3. He's a 96 overall. I was really hoping he would go up to a 99, but there is a chance he does it in season. Didi Santander of a big +6 boost. He's now an 84. Osiris Yanez an 88. The receiving core is super deep this year. I'm really excited about our pass catchers. For the most part, the offense is relatively similar. We only lost 2 starters with tight end Tavion Smith-Gardner and right tackle Connor Astronfield. Delvin Hines, the second, is of course back from injury. He missed most of the season. The defensive line looks really good. A big +6 for Prince Turk. The linebackers look strong as well. Michael Roberson, the senior, is an 87 overall. I'm really excited about the defense. We only lost 1 starter, and that was Greg Hudgens III, who barely even played. So pretty much the entire defense from last year is back, and it'll be better because we're going to have Delvin Hines II healthy again. Overall, I really like the way the team is looking training-wise going into the season. So now we have to cut players. We have 76 guys currently on the roster. We have a number of walk-ons from this year's class who, quite frankly, are not good. David Robinson and Darius Sanders, they are going to get cut. Fullback Gerald Cowley is going to be cut. We only need 1. So Lance Bell, the walk-on fullback, gets to stick around. We cut some more defensive players. I wanted to cut Jake Smith, but we need 4 middle linebackers, so he gets to stick around, lucky duck. And we ended up narrowing it to 70. One of the other walk-ons ended up staying on the roster. That's safety Chaz Phillips, who's a 70. I'm surprised that no one really wanted him, but I'm not complaining. So that brings us to the preseason, and as you can see, we are unranked. That doesn't make any sense to me. We were the 8th ranked team in the nation last year. We only lost 3 starters on offense and defense, and of those 3 starters, only one of them was good in tight end Tavion Smith-Gardner. So I don't know how he can be unranked, but okay. Here are the red shirts for the season. We're redshirting all of our true freshmen except for the fullback, and then sophomore Zach Fuller, who of course was a JUCO guy. He's going to be redshirted as well. So all the new players except for the fullback are getting redshirted. Here's a look at the depth chart going into season number 5. For the most part, there aren't really any big-time position battles or surprises. Manuel Castillo, of course, is the starting quarterback. Didi Santander and Donovan Barrington are both back in the backfield at running back. The receiving core is the same as last year as well. Maybe there's going to be a position battle below the top 4 or 5, but all our starters are back from last year. I'm excited to see what Jonathan Roberts does at receiver. That should be interesting. I'm going to start Georgie Bucciarelli at tight end over Aaron Garrett. I just think Bucciarelli is a little bit better. The offensive line stays the same as last year. The only new starter is at right tackle, that being senior James Mayo. On the defensive side of the ball, Delvin Hines and Kevin Bowman will be the main defensive ends, with Cedric McNeil, Chandler Bednarik, and Napoleon Abubakar all rotating in. Brian Slater and Dallas Jones will start at defensive tackle. The linebackers will be pretty much the same as last year, minus the second middle linebacker spot, which will now be Lucas Langley, replacing Emmanuel Dukes. The starting 2 corners will be the same. Jamil Cox will be in the slot. We're also going to see some Kyle Ward as well. The 2 safeties are the same, Terrell Cream and Lewis Reed. And then the kicker, of course, will be Marquez Glover. And the punter will be Victor Johannes' replacement, redshirt freshman Michael Jefferson. Donovan Barrington and Zion Hollis Sr. will be doing kick returns, and Donovan Barrington will be doing punt returns. Of course, he is arguably the best return man in college football. It's a shame he's a senior this year. I also did the custom schedule here since I haven't simulated the week yet. This is subject to change, so if you guys have some suggestions for non-conference opponents, let me know who you want to see. But for now, I have Wisconsin, bye week, Maryland, Miami. Then we have 2 in-conference games against UAB and UTSA. Bye week at number 10 USC, and then we have a conference gauntlet against East Carolina, USF, Temple, Memphis, Capital College, and Navy. So that's going to wrap up the episode. I hope everybody enjoyed. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out. Go Dogs.